Vice Chair Elizabeth Miska.
Liz Miska on the phone.
Members John Finn. Dee Karuna.
Here.
Kate McGrath.
Kate McGrath here.
Joe Percillo. Stephen Stolberg.
Here.
Very good. Thank you all. I yield back to Bob. We do have enough people to continue with the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to raise Kate McGrath to full member for the purpose of the
Yes.
meeting? Yep.
Yes,
so
we
we'll
do.
do that in terms of voting and so forth. Okay. So the first agenda item is approving the meeting minutes from June 17th, 2025, and they were distributed. Any changes anyone wants to make? Don't typically hear any, but if there are any, this is the moment to share them. Okay. We will have a roll call vote. Patricia, if
Could we
you could
have a
facilitate that.
Could we have a motion to approve the minutes and a second, please?
Oh, sure. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Bob.
I second them, Dee.
Oh, thank you, Dee.
Okay. And
So we have
now
a
a roll
motion
call
to-
vote.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from June 17th. Motion made by Steve Stolberg, seconded by Dee Karuna. Roll call of the members present, please. Chairperson Robert Bureau,
Aye.
Vice Chair Liz Miska,
Liz Miska approves.
Dee Karuna, Dee Karuna,
Here. Aye.
Kate McGrath,
Kate McGrath, aye.
Steve Stolberg.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to move right into the next agenda item, which is updates on the July 23rd Disability Pride, also the 35th anniversary, ADA anniversary event. And we have Kate McGrath and Dee Karuna, who have been doing the work behind the scenes to make this happen. Get an update from them. We've dedicated about 10 minutes. Should be plenty of time. Kate, would you like to lead off?
So this is Kate through the chair. The only update that I have that has not been said at previous meetings is that the EPIC leaders will be doing the mural live during the event. They will be painting it in the Oval, and I think that would be really increase the engagement, and we're really thrilled to have EPIC leaders be involved. So the mural will be a live painting. And the promotion has been going well. Nonprofits have been promoting it internally and on their social media and web pages. I encourage everyone to continue promoting the flyer and that the bid created in the next week. And the event is a week from tomorrow, so we're really excited. And that's all I have for updates. Not sure if Dee has anything to share, but that's all I have on my end.
Thank you, Kate. Dee, do you have anything you wanted to share?
Yes, I do. So I was asked to call nursing homes to include them and increase awareness of Disability Pride Week and Disability ADA celebration. And I contacted 25 nursing homes. Would you like me to tell you who they were?
You don't need
Hello?
to. You don't need to tell us all of them, but maybe just the results. How many wanted to participate?
Well, right now we have 11 people that said they'd like to stop by. And the rest, again, I left voicemails or I left messages or they didn't get back to me, but I've been calling in the last 3 or 4 days, so I still expect to hear from people.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I called from Holy Trinity Jewish Home, Knollwood, from there to Quabog, Auburn Life, Millbury, and then, of course, in Worcester, Notre Dame, etc., Christopher House.
Okay.
So I think the response is good, and I think that's a whole nother layer of the community that, you know, needs understanding and participates in, you know, the disability community. So I think it's good.
Great.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. And
You're welcome.
we have a schedule of members of the commission that are going to be at the table. Maybe we could go over that again, just as a reminder. Who's going to be there when? I know I'll be there from 10:30 to 12:30.
I think if
The minutes have it?
they're in the minute.
Okay. Yep, I see it. Number 3. Okay, it looks good. All right, anything else on that, or any questions from members of the commission? Any follow-ups at all?
Bob, I'll be there, but I'll be working for CLW,
Okay, all right.
just so you know.
All right, good, thank you. Glad they'll be there. All right, not hearing any other points on that, I think we can move on. We're ahead of schedule, so it's 4:40, and we're going to move on to the follow-up on the Polar Park issues. So we've got about 10 or 20 minutes that we can dedicate to this.
Did you want me to go over the information I handed out, Bob?
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Very good. So I had shared with everyone, I basically took information that I had received from Polar Park, particularly from the marketing and fan engagement manager, George Lauren, from email regarding the entire list of items that we had presented. And they're on there numbered 1 through 8, number 1 being hoping to send over the ballpark evacuation plan soon, which I'm really not understanding what's taking so long about that, because at our walk, he indicated, he being George Lauren, that this thing was readily available. It was submitted, had to be submitted to Major League Baseball for approval and to the state of Massachusetts somewhere for approval. So I'm not really understanding why we haven't gotten that, but nonetheless, we haven't. Number 2 on the list, Mr. Lawrence states that they're working on a mock-up of what the emergency announcements and communications would look like, especially for the deaf, hard of hearing. I'm also under the understanding, sort of, you know, not from Mr. Lauren, but from other sources, that the elevator contract got renegotiated for Polar Park, and they negotiated a change so that there would be announcements in the elevator, just like they have in City Hall. You know, you're on the floor 2, the door is open, et cetera. And I just don't know what the actual date of that to kick off is, but I do understand that that's solidly in place as one of our recommendations. Number 3 is basically things concerning this strange area that they call the, I don't know, the blue box, or where we've got an issue with mobility, accessibility. And initially we had asked this to be looked at and repaired and changed and come into conformity quite a while ago, prior to me even being here, and it's been an ongoing issue. We were told at one point that they were going to actually raise up the floor, like a deck almost around it, but that can't be done apparently, from what I'm hearing, because of the building codes, and then it would even make accessibility worse as you get on the fringes of this area. So that there's some type of workout and play with that. But I also understand that that's a considerable expense to the agency. So I don't know what to expect to hear from them about that, or how quickly, but we are still advocating that it get taken care of. Let's see here. Apparently, from what George had said on our walk, they have this really great guy over there by the name of Bob Malone, who, I don't know if he's the facilities manager, but I'm presuming that's his role. He is like a Mr. Fix-It kind of guy, and he's the one who's basically in charge of spending their money like in a smart way. So he's supposedly going to be taking care of additionally, the gaps in the joints and the cement floor surfaces. He's the lead on this repair of this blue bug area. And again, we're just not sure at this point what exactly that all looks like in reality to be brought into conformity with our requests. Number 4, back in March when we were there, we did discuss the SPAN process with the security button, and that the calls were answered by the person who was on duty in their security office. On non-game days, Mr. Lauren assures us that the calls are answered by whoever is on duty in the office. And if they're doing rounds in the ballpark to check doors being locked, et cetera, that they take a phone with them, that they can have access to these calls. He also asserts that it's important for them to note that their security text line is open 24/7, and he provided the number, which can be accessed at any time, 24/7, 365. And that's the amount of updates that I have right now. I don't know if anybody wants to ask questions, talk about them.
Interpreter change for the streaming screen, please. Thank you.
Just a question. Are there any questions or follow-ups regarding the Polo Park issues that Patricia covered for us? Well, this is Bob Bureau, the chair. It is concerning that they have a list of things that they've put forward to Major League Baseball in the state of Massachusetts, but they can't send us that list themselves. That is confusing.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason is there or the rationale is there, Bob, but I will email George again and tell him, that it's my understanding from our discussions at the park that day that was I believe it should be readily accessible to the public as a document as well, because it does concern the evacuation policy or processes for the park. So I'm not really sure what the holdup is on that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from anyone? Kate has one.
Through the chair, it's Kate. I just have a comment question. I know that there's a phone number for security reasons, and when I was a patron at the park, I noticed that too. But if there's a real emergency, what is the likelihood that someone will know that phone number by heart to call if there's an emergency? I wish there was a more seamless way to contact security. Just a thought, but I yield back.
Thanks, Kate. That was one of our concerns that we brought up too. Like, what if there was some type of some type of an attack in there or something? And they, essentially what they tried to tell us was that they have like concierge type people in there who would make sure people were safe, who were disabled or mobility impaired or whatever. But I don't know that it's realistic or practical, because how do you identify everyone, and how do you communicate with everyone if everybody doesn't communicate the same way? So again, that's an excellent question. This is why we brought up specifically the announcements in the elevators and otherwise. So we'll have more conversation with them about this.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? people on. Go ahead.
So I had a question about the, if they're going to make clear the sounds, are they going to have signage to go with that special number? And how else are they going to make that common knowledge?
I haven't got an answer to that, Dee. When we were there in person, we talked about signs matching verbal or, or sound communication, because, specifically we're talking about both visually impaired and hearing impaired individuals, deaf individuals. So it's, it's just polar opposites of what needs to be done. So how do we do these things hand in hand there? I don't know. I don't know if they thought about it really. I guess part of my issue with this is being an outsider when I came here. I presume that since Polar Park was this brand new, fantastic facility, that this stuff would have all been sort of contemplated, but yet there's still issues that you all have brought up way before me that have never been really addressed. So, and we're trying to work cooperatively and, collegially with them. So it's just going to be an ongoing conversation as to what they have in mind and bringing that information back to all of you.
It's Kate, through the chair. I would like to say I have noticed that they post the phone number to security at the beginning of the game on the Jumbotron. I will say, as a patron, I once tried to get my phone out to save it in case did not have enough time as it was posted. I didn't see it posted multiple times, just at the beginning. Not saying that it's not, but I know they do post it at the beginning of the game on the Jumbotron. Yield back.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. That's helpful to know. Well, I think we need, to be respectful and collegial, as Patricia said, but also, it's important that Polar Park make the changes, not just say the walk, but actually get things done. So,
Yes, especially since this has been a long time. These are not like new items.
No.
And they're things that are just stagnated for some reason. And, even if they said, hey, look, we just couldn't financially find our way to do everything at once, well, then come up with a plan and knock them off the list one at a time, but do, a really good job at it.
Right.
So.
Maybe if we, I don't know, I think you tried this, Patricia, but suggesting having them go one at a time in the order that's most important to us.
Yes, I already gave them that information.
And they still were not able to identify which one they would go at and get done.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what other leverage we have. Do we?
I don't know how friendly it would be if we sort of, went to the next level. It almost seems like the upper management, and I understand that this has changed this is the second management group. It's not from the original building of the park, but it seems like it's taken a turn in the wrong direction almost with this group, because it's almost like they don't want to address any of these things. I mean, granted, I understand these things all have a cost associated with them, but you're a business that's making money in our city. So, we need to demand that the place is appropriate for everyone to use. And consequently, some of that money that everyone's making needs to be used to fix these few. It's not even a long list, really.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I think we've probably exhausted that topic, unless anyone else has anything else to say. Yes, go ahead. I see a hand up. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, everyone. Finally, it was much easier today, so it's amazingly, so hopefully it will continue in this bench from here on out. Said, I have said to Patricia, I agree that the last time I, went in to take a look at the park, I didn't that the group went. I was unable to go due to illness. I know that we did put forth a list. I did go 2 years ago, and we talked about the fact that the hires up have been replaced. Patricia just addressed that, and so be it. But, you know, this has been the second year that this list has been in front of them, and there's no excuse. It's on our needs. And the problem out there is that, you know, we do have a list that has been shared. I've also shared it within our community, make sure we haven't missed anything. It seems as though our list is satisfactory to our needs, but they're putting things off. And I'm trying to figure out why this feedback is not being addressed. The exits are very important. The announcements need to be a little bit more robust. And okay, it would be helpful to make sure that deaf folks are included as well. We need to make sure that we all get that involved. So if we could have within ourselves here a review of what's exactly on the list, that would be helpful so that we make sure that we have that taken care of. The other thing is I want to address the use of the term hearing impaired. Please, please do not use those terms. It's deaf and hard of hearing. That's been accepted within our deaf and hard of hearing community. So once again, please avoid using hearing impaired. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anything else on this point? Okay, not hearing anything. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is number 5, an introduction and conversation with Executive Director Alan Motenko and Assistant Director of Communication Services Jeffrey Dugan from the Massachusetts Office on Disability. And I think Don Clark wanted to introduce them.
I'm at the very bottom of the screen in the chamber, and I think basically you got introduced. But Ellen, it's good to see you again, and Jeff, you as well.
Dawn, it's great to see you. You look exactly as the same as you did 10 years ago. I don't know how you're pulling that off, but I'm very impressed. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting Jeff and I. Jeff's in the car, so he's going to be off camera, and yeah, we really appreciate the chance to be with you. I know someone has their hand raised, so I don't want to, I don't know if that was the last person who just spoke, but I want to be cognizant of that. It's a great pleasure to be with you. I'll just, by way of brief introduction, and then you can certainly, I'll give you the floor and I'll answer any questions that you have. So I was appointed Director of MOD in April of this year. I know Don because it was a homecoming for me. I started in state government in 2010 at MOD as a civil rights advocate working for people with disabilities who had faced discrimination in a variety of contexts, and had a number of different roles over the years for about 5 years at MOD, including coming out for, I recall, an enjoyable camp training or two right in that very chamber with Jeff. And then in 2015, I left MOD and went to the Department of Transportation, was the ADA coordinator, and then for the last 7 or so years, I've been at the Department of Revenue as the diversity officer. But MOD and the work that MOD does has always been my passion and my interest and what gets me out of bed in the morning, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be back at the agency. I was talking to a gentleman who runs one of the independent living centers today. We were sort of simpatico in our language that we both think there's just so much potential to do so much good for so many people, despite what are some very, very challenging state budget circumstances, what are very, very challenging federal budget circumstances that are not really even well known yet or understood. But you know, the team at MOD, some of them are still here, so that's good. Folks like Jeff and Naomi Goldberg and Rob Dias, who you may have come across in your work as members of the commission. And for me, it's really kind of just about getting, first and foremost, kind of back to basics as an organization. I think, MOD maybe wasn't as active in the last 10 years as it was community-wise in the prior 10 years. And I don't want to, I'm speaking sort of organizational at large. I think Jeff's done a ton of work in the community, as I know others in the organization have. But I think on the whole, I think our desire is to be even more community-oriented. I know we want to be as helpful and resourceful to you all as members of the commission as possible. We're trying to put as much do-it-yourself content sort of on our website. And when I say do-it-yourself content, I just mean, as much information as we can possibly put out there in layman's terms for people to access sort of on demand in terms of rights and rules and regulations and things in easy to understand terminology, so that you certainly can still call us and reach out to us, but you don't have to wait for us to call you back, or you don't have to even pick up the phone. If we can get the information out to you that way, we want to do that. We're trying to ensure that we're more active communicating through our listserv, and I think you're going to see us also sort of bump up over the next year a lot of different training opportunities as well. So it's really a pleasure to be back at MOD. It's a pleasure to have the chance to talk to you. You are the first commission on disability to invite me to speak. So thank you for that. Happy to take questions. I know there's a lot that MOD does, and really there's nothing that's sort of out of our peer review. It's just always a question of course, time and resources and priorities, and trying to help as many people as we can with what we have. So I hope that was a helpful introduction, and I'm here to have a conversation. So.
This is Bob Bureau, the chair. I see a hand up in the audience. Go ahead.
Thanks, Bob.
In the virtual audience or the audience at Levi, in the Levi chamber?
You have your hand up right now. Go ahead. Sue.
You saw my hand up, right, Bob?
Yes, and I was recognizing you, and if you wanted to speak, this would be a time to ask a question or make a comment.
Perfect. Okay, Alan, it's nice to see you here. Could you give us some examples of trainings? That's a little vague. I'm just curious. Also, the MOD website, years and years and years ago, I remember taking a look at. So I remember MassSAD, the Mass State Association for the Deaf, worked hand in hand with the MOD. We've gone our separate ways and lost touch. So if you wouldn't mind highlighting some of those important trainings and things that you've been doing and what you plan to be doing, that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Happy to talk about, I think you raised 3 points, so let me address all 3. In terms of training, I know MOD over the last year or 2 has launched a series of new trainings around things like self-disclosure, reasonable accommodation rights, vocational rehabilitation services, sort of information sessions, through our CAP client assistance program. And I think those kinds of things are going to continue. I think I would like to see us get out to do some more work with some of our colleges and universities around employment accommodations. I'd like to see us begin to build relationships in the private sector to try to make sure that our private sector employers are aware of their rights and obligations in terms of employing people with disabilities, and sort of build those connections. And I think in building those connections, what we have to offer is information about disability rights and raising awareness. And training can be very formal or it can be very informal, but in general, I think I'd really like to see us ramp up the amount and sort of diversity of the training that we're offering to entities who employ people with disabilities or could be employing people with disabilities. So that's an area of focus for me. And I think, having said that, MOD has always been a place where if you were part of an organization or you were part of a community group and there was some kind of specific training that you wanted on an aspect of disability rights, we've historically created custom trainings for, groups from, 15 to 500 people. And that still is a service and a resource we can provide depending on the circumstance. So, and we're happy to do that. The website, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't checked out the website till about 2 years ago, and it is, if you haven't seen it in more than 2 years, it's completely, totally revamped and far, far more robust with information on all of the sort of different points of service that we provide, but all of the different sort of laws and rights related to employment, related to state and local government, related to public accommodation, related to service animals and assistance animals and housing and architectural access. And, there's just a lot more on the web now than we've ever had before. And I think we're continuing to try to put as much information as we come across different novel issues, or we receive inquiries about certain things and we sort of work up, for example, one of the things I know we're talking about now, and we don't have anything to share, but, I know we're all looking at this question of, ADUs, right? Accessible dwelling units or additional dwelling units or whatever they're called. And I think that's going to be a really interesting and complex area of the law. There's stuff on our website about zoning and accommodations related to zoning. So we try to be as comprehensive there as we can. You'll remember that MOD used to publish a disability book of laws. All of that sort of now online. We used to publish in the executive branch a disability handbook. A lot of that kind of information is now just on our website. And then you mentioned, one of the associations for the deaf, and I think I would just say generally, I think MOD is not as engaged today as we were 10 years ago with organizations, like the groups for individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing, like the groups for individuals who are blind, the Basic Council for the Blind and others come to mind. We've not been as involved or as engaged with the ILCs. I think there's opportunities for us to work with, our executive branch partners, our municipal partners even more closely. I think we have also we've added office hours, if you're not aware of that, which is not something we did 10 years ago. We now do monthly sort of just kind of drop-in sessions where folks from any municipality can pop on to a Zoom session and ask questions or talk to members of our team about issues that are affecting them in the community. And it's been a chance to talk about some systemic things. It's been a chance to talk about very specific things. Sometimes there are multiple municipalities on. Sometimes there's only one or two municipalities that pop on, but it's really been a helpful access point for us. And we want to continue to do that. And if not, try to expand that. MOD's always been my old boss, Myra Burlock, used to say a small but mighty group, and that's still the case. We're only, I think right now we have about 13 employees. I think when we're fully staffed, we're at about 16. So we're never going to be a very, very large organization. And so we, but we want to be as available as possible and be as accessible as possible and be engaged with the community as much as possible because, and I'm just going to go off here just for a minute and just say, one of the things that was really interesting during my application process is that they rewrote the description of the MOD executive director. And for the 15 or so years I was familiar with MOD, it never really spoke to the duality of the role, but now it does. And so what it talks about in the job description is that the director is the chief advocate for people with disabilities in the Commonwealth. And to be the chief advocate, you have to be, I think, engaged with individuals with disabilities across the Commonwealth in all different parts of the state, with all different kinds of disabilities, with all different forums and environments in which people with disabilities come together and to talk about issues of shared concern. And so that work is really important to me, and that part of my job is really important to me. But what's sort of nice is the description now recognizes that that's balanced with the idea that we are still the state's ADA coordinating agency. We have a significant obligation and responsibility to make sure that the executive branch is meeting its responsibilities to members of the public with disabilities, residents of the Commonwealth with disabilities. We are still the ADA coordinating agency or ADA technical assistance agency for municipalities. It's really important to me that we, from a working with municipal government, working with the commissions on disability, it's important to me that we are as effective in that work as possible. But we're also members of the administration. And so, you know, we are cognizant of the fact that we want to be sharing with you your perspective with them and hoping to foster dialogue where appropriate. And I think, you know, there's already been some opportunities for that, which has been exciting. Maybe in the past, you know, that wasn't really a formal part of what MOD was expected to do, even though we had this sort of intermediary role. So I think that hopefully addresses some of your questions. I appreciate those. You know, and certainly, where was I going to go with that? No, I think that's what I wanted to say. Sorry, it's been a long day. And you guys have a lot on your agenda. I want to thank you for putting me in here. I was really impressed with the breadth and depth of what you're tackling. I know not every COD is really tackling, you know, AAB stuff, and I was pleased to see that you have that coming up on your agenda. So I know you have a member of the board on your commission. So other questions or other topics people want me to touch on? Or are there things in Worcester specifically? And I don't want to get into too much detail, but I mean, are there concerns that you have, topics you want to raise perhaps for Jeff and I to come back and do additional conversations about or trainings on? Are there things that you're hearing from the community that MOD could do better?
Hi, this is Bob Bureau, the chair. Thank you.
Please, Bob.
I've gotten word that there are some of the commissions across the state that have ended up closing down during the COVID era. And what is the agenda for your office to try to support those commissions and strengthen them so that they can be of service?
Yeah, I think, go ahead. Jeff, want to jump in? Please, go ahead.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't be on screen. I'm just driving home and trying not to hit anybody. So I'm going to talk while we go. So it'll be a stream of consciousness a little bit. But I know I am working on trying to get more networking opportunities and teamwork between commissions on disabilities. In fact, that's probably going to be the FY26 goal for me, is to reestablish those regional meetings or statewide commission on disability meetings, to also reestablish and try to work with some commissions, and Worcester may be one of them, where we have mentor CODs for those starting up commissions, or the commissions that maybe went defunct and want to start up again. We did see a lot of attrition during COVID. Prior to COVID, we had close to 200 and something commissions in a 350 community commonwealth. So we were doing pretty good. We're down probably now to about 150 or a little bit less. So we're trying to figure out how to cultivate that. It's definitely a priority for me in my unit, as the Assistant Director for Community Services. And I know it's going to be Alan's priority as well, because commissions on disabilities are a vital group that we work with, that we want to work with, we want to network with, and help. In preface to that, there is a training up on our YouTube page about the roles and duties of commissions on disabilities that we did as a quarterly tea maybe half a year ago. But our goal is to make sure and work with commissions in this age. We should be able to network a lot easier. And I want to really build on that. And really that's my goal for this year, is to get commissions involved with MOD again, to see if we can't start some of those commissions that have gone defunct or have just kind of gone away. So yeah, I won't belabor that, but that's really, I do have that on my radar. It's definitely on my radar since COVID. It's just been a struggle to try to get those non-functioning commissions back to functioning again. And Alan, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add other than the fact that, my feeling is it should be we've made it easier in the Commonwealth since COVID for commissions on disability to meet, I would hope, I would think, based on our ability to, revise the open meeting law and the prevalence of virtual meetings and all those kinds of things. I think it hopefully is easier for boards like this to come together. So, but it takes work, and it takes a real effort among people in each community to want to kind of come together. So we need to be as out there and supportive as possible, and let people know that our commitment to them and the resources we can offer them are real and sustained. And I'm excited to see if we can get that number back up. Oh, and I said something I think that caught Susie here because she's raised her hand. So hopefully I didn't say anything concerning.
Yeah. You had talked about all those trainings and everything, and how you've changed the website. So thank you for that explanation. There were a lot of cuts. And so for MOD, they have to get money from the federal grant. And, I know there's not as many of those now. So, things are different priorities, my MOD and deaf and hard of hearing and blind commission. So, we have to think about all that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there has never been, I don't say never has been, in the last, let's say 2 decades, I don't think there's been a more perilous time for funding as it affects people with disabilities. And I think a lot of it is still unknown, and a lot of it that is known really doesn't take effect until the latter part of 2026. And so I think people don't have maybe a full appreciation yet for the things that they even know are coming and can quantify. MOD has a couple of federal grants. We're not certain as to the status of where those will be come the end of the federal fiscal year and the end of September. We're hopeful that they'll still be funded and we can still provide the services that are offered through them. But I think just like a lot of other agencies in state government right now, we're beholden to see how things go at the federal level first, and then how that trickles down to the state level. And I think the pressure points are to some degree also well known, but also because we've never been in this situation before, we don't know how it's going to play out, right? So, for example, we know that significant cuts to Medicaid are likely, to the Mass Health program are likely. How does that affect customers of the Mass Health Medicaid program? How does that affect folks who receive services, right? How does that affect folks who are aging into disability? How does that affect our state budget overall, because it's such a huge piece of the budget? So that's a significant component that we're aware of. And we're also aware of that there's a lot of funding with respect to housing that's up in the air right now. And, housing is, healthcare is housing. Healthcare is housing. So they're very much connected. And so, if those two things are in flux, then the lives of people with disabilities from Pittsfield to Provincetown are in flux and in jeopardy, and there's serious risk of serious challenges for people. And I don't know that we fully understand exactly what that's going to look like yet, but we're going to just try to be vigilant. We're going to try to be aware. We're going to try to communicate as clearly as we can about what we know and what we don't know, to give people the information that we can provide so that they can try to make plans and do what's best for them and their families. And I think we're going to have to be part of the team and really work together with federal partners, state partners, community partners, nonprofit partners to figure out, where programs and services have gone away, what's going to fill the gaps? How are we going to step up to make sure that, people have the housing they need, have the healthcare that they need, have the job search resources that they need? I think some of the traditional mechanisms are going to go away. So it's going to be a very, very hard time, but I think there's a lot of good people with goodwill who are going to come together, and that's what I'm sort of banking on and hopeful for. So.
Hi, this is Bob Bureau, the chair.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Me too.
Yeah. I think that Dawn Clark had something she wanted to say.
Alan, you mentioned that you had 2 federal grants. What are they and what do they do?
Good question, Dawn. So the 2 that I'm most aware of, one is, and Jeff can keep me honest here if I get this wrong, but one is from the, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase. One is essentially from the New England ADA Center. So, all there's, I think, roughly 10 ADA centers. What?
It was through NIDR. It's through NIDR,
Okay,
but
through NIDR.
they handle the giving. So it's National Institute for Research and blah, blah, blah. I don't know the rest off the top.
But essentially,
It's through the ADA Center. I'm sorry.
yeah, the ADA Center.
Is it maybe NIH?
It's probably part of
I don't think
Health
it's
and Human
NIH.
Services.
It might be.
We can Google it, but essentially the money comes to us from the feds through the national ADA centers, and at this point we don't know the status of that grant. We've heard different things. There's been, if you'd asked me this 2 months ago, I would have told you we were hearing it didn't look promising, and now there's reason to believe that it may be. So I don't know that you can believe anything until it actually happens. But that's one of the grants that we get, and it's part of what helps us to do the trainings that we do, and we use it a lot for training and outreach and things of that nature. And then the other grant that MOD receives on behalf of the state of Massachusetts is the Vocational Rehabilitation Client Assistance Program grant. So there's a client assistance program in every state that has a vocational rehabilitation agency. We're that program for Massachusetts. We've been that program for Massachusetts for decades. But those services have typically been funded through, primarily through a federal grant from the Federal Rehab Administration. So that funding is proposed to be cut and moved around and allocated differently, at least in the first version that we've seen, but we don't know everything. We don't know. So, but those are the 2 programs that we have. I say we don't know because vocational rehabilitation agencies are required to have client assistance programs attached to them. So even if the funding were to, morph or change in a way, our hope is that we're still going to be working with our friends at MassAbility as the client assistance program. It just might come from a different revenue stream, potentially, from the federal government in terms of how they've reorganized their services. But all of that is up in the air. So, and we have no sense of when we're going to really know. It might be the kind of thing that becomes clear in September, or it might be the kind of thing that doesn't come clear until, October or later. So we're just going to have to kind of take it as it comes. But certainly, to the extent that anybody wants to be thinking about how to advocate with our federal partners, it's to preserve funding for our national ADA centers that provide invaluable technical assistance and provide invaluable support to the subordinate state agencies that are in their regions. And then it's also advocating for the continuation of vocational rehabilitation funding that helps people with disabilities get to work, stay at work, be successful in work, and the client assistance program that gives them, a neutral ally that helps advocate for them when they run into challenges with their vocational rehabilitation services, that helps them oftentimes preserve those services. So amongst the myriad of things I know that, we're all looking to do to help support the disability community, those are 2 things to be thinking about.
Dawn, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I think Alan kind of explained it, but let me say what I'm going to say. The client assistance program has always been a mystery to me until recently. And we have had Commissioner Wolf from Massability several times, several years, talking about what they're doing.
Sure.
So even though you will explain that client assistance program helps clients when they have difficulties with Massability, maybe you can expand on that a bit. So
Yep.
yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm happy to, and actually, I want to be clear, I wasn't saying it entirely correctly either, Don. So the Client Assistance Program actually serves clients of, clients that receive vocational rehabilitation or independent living services, right? So vocational rehabilitation services, for example, aren't just offered through Massability, although they're the primary entity that offers them for the Commonwealth. They're also offered through the Mass Commission for the Blind, as an example. And again, we also provide client assistance services to consumers when they have concerns about the services they're receiving from the statewide independent living centers. And basically, I think of the CAP program as essentially an external ombudsman program with a little bit more. So, we are the place that those consumers can go if they have reached some kind of impasse in the delivery of services that they're getting from the agency that they're working with. They're not happy with the service they're getting. They don't feel that they're being heard. They don't feel that, they're in alignment with what the goals are for what they want to accomplish. When they feel like the agency that they're working with perhaps has violated some of their own policies, they can reach out to us. We will work with them as, primarily their advocate, but keeping in mind that the obligation is to make sure that the vocational rehabilitation agencies and the ILCs are following their legally required policies and protocols, but really to advocate for them to make sure that they're getting the maximum out of those services and maximizing the opportunity of those services. So, external ombudsman is sort of the easy way to say it, just in terms of, I think people understand that when you reach out to an ombudsman, the hope is to try to resolve things in a way that's positive and allows folks to move forward in a constructive manner. And I think everybody recognizes that's affiliated with these groups that it really is beneficial for it to be external, right? That it's helpful for the consumer and for the agency that it's not part of Massability or it's not part of MCB or the independent living centers, that we sit outside. We certainly have rapport and relationship, but we're independent and we're impartial. And I think that gives us an ability to work with the consumer in a way that they just wouldn't get the same kind of service if it was attached to the agency. And I say all of that because I think one of the funding mechanisms that's contemplated right now at the federal level is essentially trying to almost put the client assistance program into the voc rehab agency through how you sort of allocate its funding. But we'll see where that all shakes out. But yeah, I mean, I think, it's one of those things, Dawn, to your point, that I think, if you've not had occasion to use VR services or ILC services, you may not have a lot of exposure to the CAP program because that's really the vehicle through which you'd access it. But I think it's also important to point out that some of the same kind of advocacy services that we provide to clients of vocational rehab, we do provide to individuals, who are facing discrimination in employment, unaffiliated with voc rehab. So it's not as much necessarily, maybe advocacy isn't the right word in that context. Maybe it's a bit more about sort of talking to folks about what their rights are, talking through the situations that they may be experiencing in their employment, talking through how they might go about trying to advocate for an accommodation with their employer, helping them to try to think about what they would need to gather for medical documentation, what they would want to gather for, supporting documentation for the connection between the disability and the accommodation that they're asking for, and really work with them to try to sort of perfect that request to the best of our ability so that when they present it to their employer, they have the highest likelihood of being successful. And then working with them if they encounter resistance to try to figure out what their rights are in that case. So we do provide that service as well. So members of your commission or you have folks watching the meeting who have encountered, unfortunately, disability discrimination in the workplace, which is still I think, leading form of discrimination in Massachusetts, according to the MCAD. It is something that we can assist with at MOD as well, if you give us a call. So, and the same is true, by the way, with respect to housing. I think disability discrimination in housing is probably still the leading form of discrimination when it comes to the housing context versus the employment context. We also help folks who, have been denied accommodations, unfortunately. The discussion I've had the last couple of days with folks is that, 35th anniversary of the ADA is being celebrated this month, largely next week. And nobody's very much in a celebratory mood right now because as much as we acknowledge that we've come a very, very long way, there's still so much discrimination out there, so much lack of access to what people need to be successful in the community that there's still a lot of work to do. So.
Thank you for all of that. Are there any other questions, either from people in the room here or people in the virtual space? Looks like Dawn has her hand up again. Go ahead, Dawn.
Good things come in three, Dawn. Please, Dawn, go ahead.
I came with a lot of questions because we wanted the conversation.
Absolutely, appreciate that.
And I haven't heard Jeff say much. I know his title has changed, but I'd like him to speak a little bit about what we know of the two things. He has done the trainings for the CAM, Community Access Monitoring Program, and what that is. And second is maybe not his particular role, but Worcester has been a host of the regional commission. And I don't know whether that's still in place or whether that has changed, because if it hasn't changed, we need to consider hosting that kind of event. Thank you.
So Jeff, CAM training, and I think, Dawn, you cut out a little bit, but I think you said regional COD meetings. Is that what you were saying at the end? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. So the two things, yes, the community access monitor training is that we have 3 phases now that we've rolled out in the last couple of years. The first one is the basic training. That's the 2-day training that people take. We are currently holding them all virtually at this time, and it seems to be well attended. So, and people appreciate it and they work through it, and we streamlined it a little bit. So it's those trainings, the CAM trainings, we do about 4 or 5 a year. I might try to increase it next year for more CAM trainings, because when I get to the other 2 phases, we build off that first training. So that first training is still being offered. We hold it. The next one is in September, and I believe the one after that is either October or November, but I think it's October. We have 2 trainings remaining. You can check out our website and you can find that. So I also rolled out something called the Advanced Community Access Monitor Training, which goes beyond what the 2-day training does with some nuances of the various codes. So, during day 1, we don't really talk about change in use or maintenance of accessible features or historic properties too much because we don't have time. So the advanced CAM training goes into some of those deeper dives with a focus on how you will conduct a survey, what you're looking for, and as well as like a little bit of recap or more detail about how to find information that you're looking for to validate whether a building is compliant or not. The third thing that we've rolled out, which is really for anybody who's taken the CAM training, we're going to be rolling out live, I think, calendar year, probably 26, but we're going to roll out live CAM site visits as part of the a second or third part of the training of the CAM program, where, we used to have people after the training, the 2-day training, would walk around the building and look at everything. Well, we are now doing that as a separate training itself because, number one, we can give more focus to that effort. And number two, we're not exhausted after doing 2 full days of training and trying to figure out and remember the codes. So we're rolling that out, so keep an eye out for those. And the advanced CAM trainings, if you've taken the CAM training, you're automatically notified because we keep an email list of internally, really, of people who've taken the CAM, ACAM, and the CAM site visit. So we're definitely developing those and rolling those out. So if you're interested, please look at our website. We have openings and advanced CAM trainings coming up in August if you're interested. And hopefully, Don, that will cover your answer. So yes, we are doing those. I've expanded it some during COVID because it was a time to expand because we were doing things virtually. So we have that rolled out. And Don, I hope that answered the question about the CAM trainings. The other one, I'm trying to remember, Alan, if you could help, what the second one was. About regional meetings. There we go. We are definitely, yes, we are. With the change of executive directors, we kind of stalled this year on holding statewide Commission on Disability meetings, but they will fully be out there coming up in the next year. We're definitely going to be rolling out, doing probably a couple a year. We might do them virtually. There might be an opportunity to do them in person. We're just kind of rolling that out. But I also want to make sure when we do the statewide commission meeting, I've got stuff to announce about how we're going to better collaborate with commissions on disabilities and how commissions on disabilities can better collaborate with each other. So I want to have something there, meaty, to talk about to the commissions that join these types of, that would join that statewide call. So let me pause there, see if there's anything else. And Don, I've been quiet, which I love to talk all the time. But I'm quiet because I'm driving and I want to give Alan the floor too. But I also don't want to get too distracted. So I will stop there.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Any other questions or comments or topics? Steve? No? Kate? All right. How about Liz on the line? Are you on the phone?
Yes, this is Liz on the line on the phone, but I am in bed because of a back problem. So I just want Jeff to keep his eyes on the road. And not.
Hi, Liz on the phone.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Jeff on
Hi,
the
Liz.
road.
Sorry, that's a running tag. Yes, thank you. Perfect. All right.
And I just, this is Liz again. Welcome, Alan. I was listening very intently. I just a quick, I know you said where you came from, but what is your background? I guess that's my curiosity.
Yeah. So I guess first of all, it's nice to talk to you, and I'm sorry you're dealing with some back trouble. What is my background? Well, I guess I'll answer that in two ways. My professional background prior to joining state government 15 years ago was that of a bit of a wayward soul who thought he wanted to be a lawyer since he was a very young child, went to law school, decided that he hated it, dropped out of law school, didn't know what he was doing for a while, sold meal replacement products out of a converted closet, among other things, worked for university, did a bunch of different things, and then said, no, my heart's in government and I may not be a lawyer, but I want to find a way to do good. And here we are 15 years later and hoping I've achieved that. But I think, the other relevant background, I guess, would be that I am a person with multiple disabilities, physical, mental health. I now have the pleasure for the last, since basically May, I'm getting around for the first time in my life with a walker and fully understanding just how inaccessible brick sidewalks are, which has been a real, I think somebody said earlier, you think you know until you do, and then you realize you don't really know at all. Family members with disabilities, this is I guess my background, I would say before I became a professional, my background was largely spent in medical environments, right? Any of us that have significant medical problems, we end up growing up in or spending a lot of our time in the medical world and trying to juggle that with whatever our day job is or our schoolwork is or our caring for our family is. And so I think not unlike most people that find themselves in this work, you either are here because you are really just an absolute saint, or more likely you either are a person with a disability yourself or have family members or people with disabilities, because I think that's what draws you to try to make things better for those that come after you. So that's what I would say is my background. But I hear great things about you with regard to the work you're doing at the AAB. You know, I asked Jeff to let me come to the AAB meetings, but he just refuses because he doesn't want to give it up. But I do look forward to coming to a meeting at some point and meeting you in person and or on the screen again, I guess. That's right. I have to remind myself they're not in person anymore. I keep wanting to go up to the 21st floor of One Ashburton to go to these AAB meetings, and I'm reminded that that's not the case. See, so we've made it easier to go to the AAB. We've made it easier to go to the Commissions on Disability. There's really no excuse now, although, and actually would be interested to hear your feedback on this at some point down the road from the folks in the COD. I do hear that despite all of the great technological advances, that in some ways, you know, the advocacy work has become harder on Zoom or on Teams. Maybe not quite as effective because it's harder to really connect with people when you're trying to talk about issues of challenge or concern when you're not in person. So I think that's something that we're thinking about too, right? How do we want to facilitate the chance for people to advocate in a way that's going to be most effective is something I'm also beginning to be mindful of, because it wasn't something I'd considered, right? I thought, you know, the world of technology was really just giving us more access and more inclusivity and more opportunity to participate. But if it's not as effective at yielding the kind of advocacy outcomes that we want that serve our community, then maybe we need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. So that was a little bit of a side tangent, but tells you where my head is at, right? All these different things we're trying to do and trying to be cognizant of. So I'll stop there.
Did you have a follow-up, Liz?
So this is Liz. I am a lawyer, so I thought maybe that's what I recognize in you, Alan.
Thank you.
But that dual capacity too of being present, but being virtual. I think that is something that I think all of us will have to ponder, because there are advantages being a person with a disability to remote participation, but I am a social animal, and I feel that I'm most effective when I'm in physical space with other people, and
Sure.
And can observe to the extent I can observe, and deduce and analyze from that. So again, I think having the opportunity to participate in the way that makes sense for each individual, that's choice, and that's what we want to. That's always what we want to honor. So, so thank you for that. I'm very appreciative of you being so candid, and I will yield back because I am also a talker, and I could go off on a tangent.
It's a blessing and a curse, Liz, isn't it?
Thanks, Liz. Any other comments or questions or topics for these two leaders from the Mass Office on Disability? Kevin, did you have a question or a comment you wanted to add? Observing? Okay.
Well, and you can always have us back. This is the nice thing about this is, you know, as we've just discussed, it's easy for us to plug in, provided that, you know, we schedule it in advance. Happy to come back to a future meeting. And you know, that's the nice thing, right? I can pick up the phone now and see somebody in Pittsfield, and before COVID, that was not really a thing we could do very easily. So, or Worcester, or Framingham, or, you know, Bristol County. So, if there's a reason for us to come back, we're happy to talk to you again, 6 months or 12 months or whatever you think is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming, and appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, have a good rest of your night. Take care. Jeff, drive safe.
Thank you.
Will do, and thank you, everybody, and I look forward to talking with you guys soon. All right?
Great.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alan.
Yep.
We're running a little bit ahead of schedule, about 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Next agenda item is number 6, notice of election of officers for September. So we do this once a year, chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary. So this is notice that we'll be doing this in the month of September. Number 7, approval of FY24 AAC draft annual report. So is Patricia still with us?
I'm still with you.
Okay. Did you want to introduce this?
Well, I'm going to yield to Dawn to introduce this because she wrote it. Frankly, she and I have been in discussion about this for on and off for the last couple of months.
Okay.
I wasn't present for fiscal year 24, so I'm going to have to lean on her a little bit and lean on all of you as to your approval or request for edits of this annual report. I did review it. She did a tremendous job with it, but I'm going to yield to her to have the discussion with you about it because I was not here.
Okay, thanks. Floor is yours, Dawn.
Thank you. This is Dawn speaking. The background is that I am aware in the past that this is a requirement by the city manager.
Okay.
And we did not do one between 19 and 24. And what I've done is I've just identified the major changes and issues from 19 to 24. And then I used fiscal year 19 to follow by and did that.
Okay.
I have not got any word from Kevin, who would tell Pat, who would tell me that, you know, the annual report is due. So I put together what you received, and my sense is that if you approve it, then we can work with that and develop that related to what the manager requests. And to be clear, there are 2 reports. One, and you have the Accessibility Advisory Commission report. There will also be as I understand, a programmatic report from the office. And that report will be done upon Kevin telling us what needs to be done for those years. And so that's the background of what you have. And so hopefully this will help us work with that material without coming back to you. If we have to come back, we'll come back. Does that help identify what we're doing here? And I think it would be helpful to take a vote on that.
If I could just interject a couple things, and Dawn, you and I didn't discuss this, but it came up again yesterday in our staff meeting. Our office will be required by the Human Rights Ordinance to produce an annual report. And so I think going forward, as we see it, Kevin and I, and I'm not exclusively speaking from him, I'm only going off of, I had actually started a draft annual report sometime late last summer, but we just didn't have enough information to put in it yet because we were still building up the office. It seems to me like this might be rolled into it as as part of the divisional representation of the office, because I understand, we'll have a section in there on training and professional development, human rights and accessibility, investigations. I think in the end, this won't be something alone. It'll be part of a bigger thing. But that's just my sense of it right now. So I'll yield back to Bob.
Okay, thank you. I've gone through my emails trying to find a copy of the AAC draft annual report, and I haven't found it. So could you redirect me?
Bob, are you talking about the one that Dawn recently sent out, or one and from prior years?
No, that Dawn recently sent out.
Okay.
Because I've got one from Friday, July 11th at 4:35, but they all appear to be the same document when I preview them.
I'll look at it I'll look for it while you all talk.
I think given that, maybe we want to table this, given the confusion, we might want to table this, Pat.
Yes, I think that would be perfect. And then we can further discuss this with Kevin. I mean, obviously, he wasn't around in 24. He wasn't even really around in 25. So, I'm sorry, he wasn't around at all in 24, only started in 25. So, as far as this goes, I mean, I think we definitely want to have the members be able to review it and, vote it up or down. And we have it at least in our, in our possession as needed to look back at. But again, I think going forward, this is going to be a piece of a bigger pie.
Okay. Yeah. I did just find it on a second look at the July 11th.
Okay.
It's titled Draft AAC Annual Report Doc X. So, yeah, if we could have a month to look through this, I think that would be good. There's a lot of stuff here. A lot of work went into this, so we want to give it your due diligence to be able to.
Yes, she did do a lot of work on this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, don't want to make a snap decision without having read through it. Is something you want to say, Don? No? Okay.
I think we just need to table.
Yeah, so we'll table this until the next month. And if we could send that out again to everyone with a reminder, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you. Number 8 is the AAC working meeting plan. And
Pat, do you want me to deal with that?
Sure, go ahead, Dawn.
yeah,
Pat and I have not a disagreement, but we've had conversation about this several times. What you have here is basically the annual items that the commission would be involved with or knowing about what's happening in the city.
Yeah.
It does not have speakers. So these are very short items, but it gives a framework for us to move forward, if that's helpful. So remember, this does not need any approval or whatever. It just needs a review and knowledge.
Yeah.
And so we will continue to work at this. But we're requesting people think about items that they would like to on the agenda so that we can figure out what was the best timing to have them appear.
So the meeting plan has a list of topics for each month, and they coincide with past priorities. I think it looks fine. I think it looks fine. Other people's perspectives on this? Have you looked it over?
We've included people's ideas. For instance, in October, we've approved, we included, not approved, included dystomia. So that's, that's kind of new, but we did that last year, and I heard you wanted to do it this year. The other thing was there was conversation about participating in Pride in September, and we need to discuss that. So that's the kind of item that is identified more than above the ongoing, what the AAC should be looking at.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Peg.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
I did see the addition of the dysautonomia awareness, like Dawn said. I don't have the paper in front of me, so I could be mistaken, but I did not see anything about disability pride for fiscal year 2026. I could be mistaken, but I'm not sure if that's something we are waiting to see how next week goes, or if that's something that we would like to add. So I yield back, but just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I noticed the Disability Pride ADA anniversary as being a tabled future item, and that would actually come up in the next fiscal year. But planning for it would have to start way before, of course. Any other comments or questions about this for Dawn? A lot of work on your part. I appreciate it.
Bob, if I could,
Yeah.
I just wanted to also say that essentially that's what you're saying, Kate, is correct. We want to get a pulse on what goes on at this event next week, see, how it pans out, what type of participation we have, and then move on, since we do have a whole year plus. Yes, I would say deep down, absolutely, it will be our intention to have it on there next year. But we just want to evaluate how things go this year and how we might need to reshape things or, massage things for next year a little differently.
Through the chair, Pat, that absolutely makes sense, and that's what I thought was the thought process, so sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Good. I think we're doing fine on time. We're actually, at this point, a full 30 minutes ahead of schedule, which is pretty uncommon for us. Number 9 is a review of the AAB notices and applications. They're included for awareness, but no action is required because there are no city properties. One of the notice of actions is 2 Grove Street, and the variance application is 2 Grove Street. So we don't have any more information about that. Number 10 is suggestions for members for future agenda items. This is our point to kind of ask everyone, what would you like to see happen in August, September, October, November? I see both your hands up, so go ahead, Steve.
Bob, I was wondering, I noticed that Central Mass Housing Alliance is moving to my building at 18 Chestnut Street.
Okay.
And I was wondering if we could have someone from there come and talk about the move and their programs.
Sure. That sounds like a great idea. Pat, did you get that? Central Mass Housing Alliance?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Their entire
Steve, if you have
operations
any
moving?
contact information, I'd appreciate if you forward it to me.
Yeah, I can Yes, I can email it to you, yeah.
Thank you.
And Kate, did you have something?
Yes, through the chair. Thank you, Bob. Maybe for next month, we would want to have a recap or a summary or perhaps a debrief of the Disability Pride event. I'm not sure which month you would prefer, but it could be a good idea.
Definitely that will be on there.
And the sooner the better afterwards, so people can
Yes. Yep,
have memories fresh.
yep.
That's a good one. Okay. I think that September is known as Disability Employment Month. Is that right? It's October.
October.
Okay. Okay. But if we could have some attention to that during that month, it seems to be one of those national events that slips by. And if we could have more of a city emphasis on it, that would be a positive thing.
Bob, we always do have a awareness campaign around it. We did one last year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the federal administration has essentially cut off everything that we would normally get in terms of materials to circulate, et cetera. So we'll have to look at this a little differently this year, but we always do have at least a campaign of to raise awareness. We put all over the city.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's a shame to hear that all that information's been dissolved at the federal level.
Yes, it is.
A lot of work went into that over many decades.
Yep, it's very sad to see what we're going to have to redo after all of this.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. If anyone has any other suggestions for future agenda items, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, it's Kevin Levancy, Chief Equity Officer. Something that I want us to continue to think about is outreach and recruitment for this commission moving forward. What does that look like generationally, lived experience-wise? We just got to start thinking about that. What outreach plan can we do, whether it's working with the Worcester Public School System and seeing what college students are interested, different CBOs. I really want us to start focusing on that. It's something I'm trying to do for all of our boards and commission under DEI.
Okay, thank you. Yep, that's an important item. I think we're down to a total of 7 members, and we have a total of 12 that we could have, 7 plus 5. Right, yeah. Right, okay. If we could have some information at the tabling event, which is next week, at the table.
Bob, we already have that prepared. We're going to have, we have these acrylic stand-up things that we acquired to have on the table that have a QR code on them that link to the board and commission information. Because the board and commission's application now is completely online. So when someone scans this QR code, it brings them right to that. We just used a similar thing at another event for one of our other boards, and it worked out very well.
Great. Very good to hear. Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to number 11, announcements.
I have my,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. 2 things here. I'd like to see more reminders to be added to the agenda. Reminders as to what we can do as far as accessibility for Polar Park. So touching base on things along those lines, and also to think about, we had Gay Pride recently. So in Western Mass, I believe they did something in May. Boston does something in June. So just wondering about communications and accommodations for interpreters and things along those lines. A lot of people were very disappointed with accessibility in Worcester and the fact that there didn't seem to be a group specifically supporting deaf folk. There was no captioning, interpreting. So and that was because the request hadn't gone through. So I think some training in mindfulness and some reinforcement of providing accessibility for open public events. So we have things coming up in September, and I know you're looking to fill spots then, so it might be nice to have deaf network opportunities filtered through there. I know we're providing interpretation for this meeting, but it would also be nice to make sure there's continued awareness and reminders going outward about interpreters and accessibility for communications.
Thank you, Sue. Did you have anything else? No?
No,
Okay. Thank you for that.
that made sense.
Yeah, it made sense.
Great.
Continuing on with announcements, the WRTA Transportation Advisory Planning Group is on Wednesday, July 23rd. It's next Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Emergency preparedness tip for a list of items and other helpful tips. The website is ready.gov, ready.gov. And the next Accessibility Advisory Commission meeting is on Tuesday, August 19th at 4:30 p.m. And we're assuming it's going to be hybrid, but we don't know for sure.
Can I add, in July, we have 2 disability presentations on blindness.
Okay.
And one is the 17th, which is Thursday, and the other is next Tuesday from 11 to 12.
Okay.
For anybody that wishes to participate, please call me.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
And those were advertised for the city of
For the
employees. Yep.
City and the commission.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I see nothing else on our agenda. If anyone has any other points or comments they want to share, this is the moment. Okay, not seeing any. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, and do we have a second?
This is Liz, I second.
Okay, so Liz. Okay. Sounds
So we
like,
have a motion to adjourn at 6:05 PM. Roll call of the members present. Chairperson Robert Bureau,
aye.
Vice Chair Liz Miska,
Ms. Miska votes aye.
members D. Karuna, Kate McGrath,
Kate McGrath, aye.
aye.
and Steve Stallberg.
Aye.
Thank you, Dee. The motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Is now exiting.